The topics of today are absolutely critical for moving the prosthetic and orthotic industry forward, and I'm going to cover a number of themes which I think, together with the themes everyone else is covering, are going to, the word before was holistic that was used, and I think that we need to all work together to make these things happen. So the topic of my talk today is the little text at the bottom. It's utilising user feedback to drive the design of affordable, reliable and desirable prosthetic products and services. So all those words are important. Affordable, obviously, is key in today's environment. Reliable, they have to work. And desirable, well, this is why we're talking about appearance and aesthetics as well. And it's not just about the products, it's also about the services. And you'll see the one term just below the name ProsFit is confident mobility. That's a term that we use a lot. It is for each user of a prosthetic or orthotic device to actually decide for themselves what they mean by confident mobility. So ProsFit is a real story of user-generated innovation. For those of you who were here last year, you will have also seen me on the stage with my son Christopher, who is the reason that we started ProsFit. But as he's not actually here today, I'm going to show a little video where he talks about his particular circumstances and why we started ProsFit. As you'll see, he's a double lower limb amputee following an accident in 2009, so he has one below knee and one above knee amputation. And I have to say that he inspires a lot of people, including his father, myself. Oops.
As you can maybe quite clearly see, I'm a double amputee. Actually, well, that wasn't always the case. I was involved in an accident now 5 years ago, and that was quite a wake-up. And you go through a lot of process after an accident in the rehabilitation that typically you would never imagine is part of anyone's life. But actually, the fitting of sockets and prostheses is a process that we discovered to be very long and difficult and painful, and actually really something that feels like it's from a previous century.
And actually, he's actually correct, so don't take that wrong. It is actually from a previous century. Because hand-forming methods have been serving the industry well for over 50 years. And let's just, for those that don't know what hand-forming methods are, we'll just take a quick look. This isn't what everybody does, but it gives a good indication of the current process for making a socket. So what we see here is the casting of the residual limb for a below knee socket. Doesn't normally go that fast. And so you fill that cast with plaster, let it set, break off the casting, and you have a positive model of the residual limb, and you have the markings for the rectifications, which are both building and carving. You then make a socket over that positive. This is the draping method. There's also laminating methods. You prepare the trim line, and then finally you break out the plaster. And if you take all the effort of the prosthetist, the technician, and those involved, there are those that do it faster, some slower, but on average we see across Europe that's about 5 to 6 hours to do that. So the issue is not the hand-forming method. I'm of the opinion that actually the hand-forming method is probably the best way to make sockets today. I'm also a great fan of Rolls-Royce cars and Morgans, but the world cannot afford to hand-make all the cars. It's just simply a case of capacity, that the capacity of the hand-forming methods can no longer deal with the growth of amputation that we're seeing in the world. So what we see here is the existing methods just will not be able to deal with the growing rate of amputation, and that we need to accept, we need to adopt new technologies to allow the customization of sockets at a global scale with benefits for all, particularly the limb users, but also all the other stakeholders, including the prosthetists. Now, the picture behind the words is significant because the light bulb did not come from the continuous development of the candle. There was disruption. And what we're seeing here is that there are attempts to take the existing method and try and improve the productivity in small ways. Now we're needing disruption. So we need to move from the candle to the light bulb. So essentially the process that we have developed, and we'll see that in a minute, our main driver is improving the time to comfort. The time from when a limb wearer first goes in or an amputee first goes in is seen for the first time to when they have a comfortable socket. But at the same time, we're trying to radically improve the productivity and flexibility of the prosthetists so that they can deal with the rising number of amputations. So Christopher, just making another...
So that was something that had, let's say, bothered us, and as a family we had to go through a lot of this, because a lot of going back and forth to prosthetic centres and having quite long appointments and waiting in waiting rooms. And I was still not in a comfortable situation. At one point we were on the plane back, and maybe I'll let you explain a little bit.
Well, on the way back from Colombia, and Christopher was in a tremendous amount of pain because during a flight you have a swelling of the residual limb. And I was sitting next to Christopher, almost sweating as much as he was because I could feel your pain. And I started to think about, well, in 1981 when I left Oxford, first thing I did was I was a research associate working on a knee implant, using CAD to look at the interaction between the knee implant and the body. And I just said to Christopher, I just don't understand why this sort of technology is not being used to find a better way to fit prosthetic sockets. So on that flight, we had a night over in Madrid on the way back to Sofia. We live in Sofia. And we made the decision. When we get back, we're going to do something about this. And that really was the start of CrossFit. We started with a blank piece of paper. We were a bit jet lagged, and we sat up quite late in the evening, and we basically crafted out what today is the business CrossFit.
So that was August the 16th, 2013, which is 3.5 years ago. And where we are now today is we're now 16 employees. We've moved from startup to scale up. We've just closed our third round of financing, and we start to have a number of wearers on our sockets. So CrossFit was born. We have a very simple vision, which all the team shares, which is a world where innovation provides limb wearers a choice of the affordable, reliable and desirable prosthetic products and services. We have this painted on one of our big walls in our office, and every one of our team can recite it by heart. And we have a clear mission, which is to leverage knowledge and technology to enable confident mobility. Very simple. We've seen some examples of technology today. Sandy showed pressure technology, signal technology. We heard about smartphone technology. We have to leverage all of this technology to enable confident mobility, a definition that each user is going to create for themselves. So essentially what the CrossFit method is, and I will show it to you now, is basically we were originally talking innovation. Well, now we're saying we're walking the talk and we're providing a fitting solution. So what you see here is a process that goes from scanning in the model of the residual limb, designing, 3D printing, but importantly is fitting and also the follow-up. So let's see what this method actually looks like. So here, instead of plaster casting, you've got the scanning of the residual limb. It's a low-cost scanner, costs about €300. It's slightly speeded up, but it's actually a very easy scanner to do a first-time scan. This is actually what you see now is the software from the scanner. where we're just cropping out everything that is not required. It's then imported into our software, where what you'll see is all the things that you saw done in the physical world, the adding of plaster, the taking plaster away, that's now all done in the software. Here you see the trim line being created, and finally here it is being printed. It doesn't go that fast, this is a time-lapse video. It takes several hours, but that's the net result of that process. And for the professional, that's 2 hours of time. So whether it be a prosthetist, a technician, it's 2 hours instead of the 5 or 6. So one of the things that we find important in order to support the confident mobility, you see here, actually on the left you have the limb wearer and on the right you have the prosthetist working together to design the socket. And this is really, we found this to be quite important, because some of the objections to getting a socket that you actually have come from a black box in a workshop are taken away. Now I know in with the hand forming methods, many good prosthetists also involve the patient, but many don't. So what we have here is, we call it the ProsFit family. We have a ProsFit Original, which is black, like Henry Ford. You can have it in any color that you like, as long as it's black. So that's how we started. But actually now we have the one in the middle, which is called the ProsFit Original Plus, where we're doing post-processing. And then just recently, as Sandy mentioned before, we introduced the ProsFit Original above knee socket. And here's a very good example of combining function and appearance. Because it's more challenging to make the above knee socket, because of the areas you see overhanging the brim, we actually did finite element analysis and figured out where we should put that fancy design in order to strengthen it. And so there's a perfect example of combining those two. And Sandy, you might be interested in this picture, because this actually...
Oh, so good!
This is, for the follow-up, we have started to develop an iPhone app where you literally put your finger on the screen and you can slide. You get a maximum of 15 points, and you've got to fit them between the 3. So you can't give 9 to every one of them. You have to fit the 15 points, between the comfort, appearance, and function. So this is a prototype that we're developing, and we'll come to you and start thinking about how we can get input from the users. But as was mentioned before, it's really important to have these tools in order to monitor your own progress and your own views on what you're doing. We've also been reaching out to the wider community, and I'm sure Sandy at some point will mention IC2A, and we have been working with IC2A and have actually designed an online prosthetic user survey, which if you go to the site, I think is up and running already, Sandy, if I'm not mistaken.
Not quite.
Not quite, but will be soon. But going into the topics of comfort, function and appearance in much more depth, and we hope soon to have some interesting results. Last but not least, ProsFit also has been working with Handicap International. We did a pilot study to fit patients in Togo, Madagascar and Syria. Not always the best results, challenging environments, but what we're doing is learning from what we see. And we talk about crucial innovation or even frugal innovation. Some of the things that we saw there, we're bringing back. One of the key issues is the liner. There is a desperate need for the development of a low-cost liner for those markets. And so we're going to start now a collaborative project to develop one of those. So we listen to what's happening, and we're making a step forward to what we call collaboratively designed prosthetics. So let's walk innovation, and we believe that ultimately in the industry we will see a concept that's called limb in a box. Furniture used to be handmade, custom designed, and now you go to IKEA. We're convinced that when the software is there to be able to do configuration of the components together with the design of the sockets, each patient, you literally can put the components in a box and send it to the prosthetic center, ready for fitting to the patient. So this is where we believe it's going to go, and we will look for the technologies to enable us to do that. So thank you very much for your attention. again, just to reinforce, we think that the hand forming methods are by far the best. I would love to have a hand-built Rolls-Royce. I just can't afford it, and there's not enough people that know how to build it. So we are really working to apply technology to be able to really build sockets and prostheses on a global scale. And for those that are interested, we actually would have the ability to print 2,500 sockets next year. So if anybody's interested, let me know. It'd be nice to see you as one of the 2,500 for 2017. Thank you very much.